Hello, everyone. Welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Anand Mahurkar, who is the founder of Findability Sciences, which is a platform that uses its proprietary technologies to add context to data and incorporates self-learning capabilities. Hi, Anand. Welcome to ELI.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you for having me, and congratulations for your success at ELI. And I'm really fascinated with the work which you do for the budding entrepreneurs. It's really a cool task, and I'm very passionate to support new entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Anand. I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Sure. So, Priya and audience, my name is Anand Mahurkar. I am originally from the Maharashtra region of India, but last 22 years I am based out of Boston in United States. I'm a mechanical engineer by graduation and post-graduation in finance and marketing. I started my career with manufacturing, moved into automation, then took a backdoor entry into software, moved to United States and was managing a outsourcing company's business in United States, where my focus was technologies related to unstructured content, structured content, data warehousing, data analytics. So I worked here for about 8 years, and then I got a fascinating idea that every organization needs ability to find information, because there is a Google in our personal lives, but within the firewalls, the companies do not have any tool where they can find information. And this I'm talking about 10 years ago. So I decided that can there be a technology called ability to find information? And I coined the word find ability, which is not an English word. So then thought, what should be the company name or the technology name? So finding information or locating relevant information is a science. So I said that the company name should be Findability Sciences. And I established company in Boston in 2010. And since then, we have now become a global corporation. We are present in US, India, and Japan, and we serve customers globally. The Findability platform, which was initially built as a data platform, has now grown into enterprise AI platform, and we serve different industries globally in terms of manufacturing, retail, financial services, etc.
Got you. Tell us a bit about the product, mainly in terms of how it works. How does a person experience the product, and what is the technology behind? I understand there is a technology called document cognition, which might be a core technology deployed here.
We use multiple technologies, and so as I must mention in my introduction, we built first the data platform. So what has happened in the world, and particularly in the business world, is while there is an explosion of data, because as you know that people are creating data with people, we send emails, text messages, etc. But machines and people coordination is also creating data, and machine to machine is also creating data. So for enterprises, the data is growing. Now, another challenge for enterprises is that the unstructured data, when I'm talking about unstructured, means the data which doesn't sit into rows and columns, but textual data is increasing. So how do you take this ever increasing data, both structured and unstructured, and make meaning out of it, which is typically called data analytics or business analytics? But now what organizations wants is really they want to know what will happen. Okay, because the data analytics typically tell you that what happened in the company, but they want to know what will happen. And artificial intelligence have now come to rescue that we can understand the old patterns and then forecast for the companies what will happen. But the organization doesn't want to stop only at what will happen. They also want to know what to do. So for example, how much quantities I will sell, and if I'm going to sell X quantities, then what should I do for that to make sure that I sell X quantity? So we built an AI technology stack on data, which consists of machine learning, natural language processing, and computer vision. So when you talked about cognition, it really takes care of only natural language processing. But our core competency is in the three areas: is machine learning, natural language processing, and computer vision. So we take this data, pass through these technologies on which we have built number of proprietary tools, and give organizations insight into what will happen and what to do.
Got you. Very recently, a new technology has come up called Chat GPT. Probably you might be hearing some buzz around it. Is this product something similar to that in the context of enterprises? So, Chat GPT for enterprise.
You can consider say that, but again, as I mentioned, that when it comes to chat, it comes to only natural language processing. Because it's a human-like interface, you are interacting on to the unstructured content. But that probably is about 33% of what we do. As I mentioned, that machine learning and computer vision, those are in additionally two technologies. Plus, Priya, the natural language processing chat is only one application. To just give you some examples to you and your audience, is if you take, for example, social media content, or let's take a very real example on which we work, that when I am operating a call center, I'm doing customer service, and we have lots of recordings of the calls. Now I want to take those call recordings and run through an AI or natural language processing and understand my customer issues with what is their sentiment, what is their tone, what they like, what they don't like, etc. So all those things come under natural language processing. Chatbot is one of the application of natural language processing, but there are a number of other applications. For example, in marketing, we use natural language processing to understand the persona of the buyers. So we can text the text written by the customer and run through the algorithm to understand what is the persona of the customer. So answering your question, yes, chatbot is one of the application, but not necessarily 100% what we do.
Got you. Uh, Tell us a bit about the user interface, as in how does a enterprise user experiences your product? What are the different modules he gets to see, and how they can use it?
So this is a B2B platform. It's an enterprise implementation. What we do is that we have a proprietary framework for deploying AI, and this is through our 10 years of successes and failures. We built a framework called CUP, which is Collection, Unification, Processing, and Presentation, CUPP. So what you're really asking me is on the presentation part, but let me touch upon, because the AI technologies and implementations are different than the standard or traditional software applications, because software applications have always given you standard interface, whereas in AI the output can be used for multiple reasons. For example, if I'm giving some alert, then the customers may want to trigger some process, or they may want to send a text message or send an email. So the user interface or user interaction can vary based on the application to application. So collecting the data from different data sources, unifying that to make sure that we have a clean and neat data to be processed in AI layer, then processing AI, and then based on what applications we are deploying, the user interface can be a dashboard, can be a report, can be an Excel sheet, can be an email, can be a text message, or even customers may not know behind the scene what's happening, and it may trigger one or two processes automatically. So the user interface changes really in terms of what problem we are solving.
Got you. One unrelated question. I just want to know your view on how does one prepare him or herself uh, for a world that is dominated by AI? Because of the chat GPT thing I just mentioned, there has been a lot of buzz around if AI has become so intelligent, it's not very far that AI will replace the human beings for doing some not just repetitive tasks, but tasks which need certain level of creativity as well. For example, a movie script writer need not be is not required anymore, because the AI can also write movie script if you know how to use it. So having said that, how do you as an individual prepare yourself for next several years where AI is going to do a lot of tasks?
So, Priya, it is a very interesting question, and as we all, as a human race, has gone through multiple revolutions, right? We have gone through the from the Stone Age to now today's AI age. We have gone through the industrial age. We have gone through the electricity. We've gone through the automation. Uh, few years ago when the banks got automated and we had ATM machines and etc., everybody was saying, oh, then we don't need tellers at the door. Everything will be done by machine. I can deposit the cash but no, actually, if you see, the banking employment has increased. The number of banks which are there in the world have increased over a period. So we don't need to get scared about AI. So how do you get ready in the world of AI? Is really know what AI is. Okay, artificial intelligence, as you rightly said, and you use very interesting word. You said it can write movie script if you know how to use it.
Right.
Okay, that if you know how to use it is very important. There can be technology, but you need skill, art, and even knowledge to do it. And who has built AI is humans, right? So and the idea of artificial intelligence is to, again, as you said, is reducing repetitive tasks, because human intelligence and human brain can be used for more than the repetitive task. And there are many countries who are facing serious challenges. Like if you go to Japan, by 2026, 40% of Japan's population is going to be elderly population. They do not have resources to work on a repetitive task. So those types countries and societies need AI to help going forward. So there is no need to get scared. How do you get ready is to know AI, be aware about what it is, what it can do, and make sure that get involved into the application development which are meaningful and useful for the human race.
Gotcha. Uh, Now, would love to know a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur. Uh, Tell us how did it all start? What triggered entrepreneurship in you? You said you worked for several corporations prior to entrepreneurship. So, how did you make transition from being an employee to becoming an entrepreneur?
So, Priya, I come from a very humble background in India. My parents were teachers, and we have no background of entrepreneurship in our family for generations. My father was a professor of cost accounting and accounting, and he used to write books on balance sheet, profit and loss, and how he used to teach in the college. So, growing up, I read those, what is balance sheet, what is company, how it is set up. And during my engineering, I always used to feel that I'm an entrepreneur and I don't want to do job. I want to create my own company. In fact, when I was studying my engineering, I was exploring to start up a garage to service two-wheelers. And I actually went to Kinetic Honda, talked to their service agent. They said, oh, you need to have 5 lakhs rupees deposit and a gala to start your garage. And I said, I don't have that money, and gave up my entrepreneurship dream right away that time and got into employment. So there was a reason for employment, but to become entrepreneur was always there on my mind. So as they say that it takes, for overnight success, it is 15 years in making. For me, it took 20 years to become an entrepreneur. And when I became entrepreneur, I'm the first generation entrepreneur. I'm the first generation immigrant in United States. But what triggered really is this idea about building a technology for ability to find information. And Priya, it built a confidence to me working in 20 years in corporate that I can do this for my brand or my company for which we are working. There is no difference if I do it on myself. So I stepped out, decided to set up company, and then since there is no looking back. It's not easy. There are challenges every time, and particularly as an immigrant in United States, not knowing how to set up a company, run a company, not knowing the laws and regulations and accounting and legal and finance and etc, but you keep learning it, and that what makes entrepreneur different than an employee. And what triggered me is that my childhood dream that to want to become an entrepreneur, so finally decided to jump in, and here I am now with 10 years with a global corporation.
Gotcha. You said being an immigrant, setting up a company in US is a difficult task. So tell us a little bit about the complexities involved for becoming an entrepreneur in US without having the citizenship.
So when I said that difficulties is really the knowledge and awareness, because when you immigrant to the other country and as an employee, your focus is just being an employee, getting your visa, staying legally and earning money. The moment when you get into entrepreneurship mode, for example, I learned that in United States, if I want to do business in every state, I have to register a company in every state. I cannot, just like in India, we can have one company and I can do business in any states, whereas in US, it is different. So the challenges, when I say those were not really out of the world challenges. People who are native and residents of America, they may be aware of all these rules and regulations, but for an immigrant, it was all new. Plus, when you start as an employee becoming entrepreneur, you do not have deep pockets to have a lawyer or an accountant to help you. So you study on your own, go and register, and then your application gets rejected, then you learn and again do it, because you're trying to save money as well as you are trying to get the things going. So nothing out of the world as a challenges, but basically knowledge, awareness, and how to do it by learning yourself at least cost really takes a toll on you.
Got you. Uh, Tell us a bit about the initial days, as in how did you, what are the first set of things that you did, as in did you hire employees first, or did you maybe spoke to clients before hiring people, or what were the series of things that you did initially?
Yes. So, Priya, even prior to entrepreneurship and now with 10 years of entrepreneurship, I can tell that sales cures everything. And how I started is I got this idea. I started sketching how the platform will look like, what it will have. And then, yes, I started reaching out into my network saying that I am starting a new company, I'm starting this technology. So one of the former customer with whom I used to work, they called me saying, "Okay, because we have been always fascinated with your ideas. Tell us what you are doing." And I explained them the idea in terms of creating this findability platform, and they said, "This is exactly the challenge we have. So can you make us a proposal?" So till then, I was alone, and about 3 months into my journey of entrepreneurship, I got my first lead where customer asked me to create a proposal.
Mm.
So I created a proposal, but I have nothing. I didn't have technology. I didn't have anything to do. So then I decided that I'm going to spend about $10,000 from my savings and have a contractor start working with me to start development. So that in meantime, I can set up the company, I can start creating collaterals and etc. So here in Boston, I recruited a contractor stroke consultant, a programmer, to whom I gave him all the brief saying that I want to start developing and start building the pieces.
Mhm.
So about 6 months into the journey, I had some initial code being developed for the findability platform. And this customer with whom I was talking took another 3 months to take some decisions, and then finally said, "Okay, let's start." And I was lucky, Priya, that 6 months from my journey, I got my first customer. And since then, we got first customer, second customer, third customer. I just recruited consultants. I didn't commit any full-time employment because I didn't want to get into the liabilities of committing money. And that model is very popular and familiar in the United States of having consultants. So I started building, I got this customer, I started billing. And then when we got our third and fourth customer, I decided to set up in India and then started recruiting employees there and in United States. But Priya, for you and your audience, for about 7 years, I didn't raise even $1
Mm.
or 1 rupee. I built everything out of revenues and my savings. And for the first time after 7 years, SoftBank of Japan invested into Findability Sciences. But till then, the company was built on its own, and I created a profitable venture where the revenues really supported my expenses and my ongoing work. And therefore, when I said at the beginning that sales cures everything, my appeal to all the entrepreneurs is first focus on revenue, get
Mm.
some revenue somewhere and start funding your operation from that, and not just look for investment and revenue plans are deferred.
Speaking of raising funds, tell us what triggered that thing. Why did you go for raising fund, and when should an entrepreneur think about that the funding thing?
So probably Findability Sciences is an unusual case, Priya, is that we didn't go out for fundraise. So it so happened that as we built our technology and we started hosting with IBM Cloud and we started becoming popular within IBM ecosystem, IBM introduced SoftBank to us saying that this is a good partner, they have good technology. And SoftBank became our distribution partner in the United States. And then they wanted to take this technology to Japan and form a joint venture. So while they were doing the due diligence on joint venture, they said that this company is worthy of investment and offered me saying that we would like to invest. And that's where we went to investment. But this is very unusual. It typically doesn't happen in this way in many, many cases. So answering your question in terms of what is the advice of fundraising is, as I mentioned, that first have your revenue plan. If you have business idea, it has to generate revenues, and particularly those who are now budding entrepreneurs, you must have seen in the market in since last 12 months, the valuation, the investment, all the investors are now talking about revenues and not just the valuation. So focus on revenues, and once you have revenues, you need to convince the investor about your good idea and growth plan. And there are many companies who will invest into you if you have the revenue plan executed very well. So when should you go for investment is once your revenue challenge is solved, and now you know that I can grow this to a multiple level if I have some money support, then go for funding, and then you can be very successful with that.
What were some of the biggest challenges so far during your entrepreneurial journey?
Many. So and again, I when I say challenges, I don't mean to be those are not manageable challenges, but first challenge is the talent or availability of resources to work on the ideas, and people trusting in your ideas and working with you as an employee, because everybody as an employee want to work with a company which is stable, which is growing, which is big, which has all the facilities. So it's really challenging to attract the talent, retain the talent, and make sure you get work done. The second challenge is really the managing the cash or keeping your one eye on expenses, because it can very quickly derail if you don't pay attention to it. So the challenge on cash, retaining cash, getting customers, getting revenues is also challenging. But third is that maintaining the quality of your services, because when you are alone as an entrepreneur, you really serve the customer to its best abilities. And then when you start expanding, you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 20, 30 customers, you start getting spread thin. And the last and biggest challenge is, as a founder and entrepreneur, managing my time. Okay, because yes, business, entrepreneurship, company is very important for entrepreneurs, but that's not the end of life. Okay, you have other life also, you have family, you have other things to do. So how do you balance between your entrepreneurship responsibilities and your personal responsibilities? That is another very big challenge, which is not often talked about, but entrepreneurs and particularly me face number of challenges on those front. So answering your question and summarizing: resources, cash, and then managing your time. Those are three probably the biggest challenges I have faced all the time.
Got you. Uh, any pivots that you have done to your business model? If yes, tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, in fact, yeah, I keep saying that we reinvented the company practically every year. So not only just pivot in terms of how we developed our products, how we entered into the market, and plus what we did also is that we created some affiliated companies which can use our technologies and then create a different business model. So we grew from a big data platform to an AI company, and we pivoted new tools and technologies every year. We changed our business model in terms of how do we charge our customers, right from whether it is a one-time project to ongoing to a recurring revenue, and then creating some other ecosystem around us in terms of startup companies who can use our technology and build new product. And those are what successfully we have done in terms of pivoting from our businesses.
Mm, got you. Uh, I understand you are a sole founder, and uh, would love to know what happens when the sole founder, who is the ultimate decision maker in a company, is runs out of energy, or sometimes there are lows that you go through as a human being. So what happens then? Because your venture is also dependent on your decision making ability, and it depends on whether you are energetic or not. So what happens when you are not to your 100%?
So whether you are a solo founder or you have multiple founders, it's really a decision based on the individual, his or her own personality, the idea, and the support which you need. Even if you have multiple founders, you may still need support. So as a solo founder, how I have done and managed it is really having a very seasoned and experienced management team. So if you see with Findability Sciences, the management team is average 20 plus year experience, and You need to attract that level of talent to come and help you, because you can create a vision for them. The second is what a solo founder or limited founders, or even if you have a group of founders, you must rely, or I have relied it on the external advisors. So the creating a advisory board, forming people who are in the market in each vertical, because you don't need to have everybody as a founder or a co-founder as a company. You can offer equity or cash compensation and have advisors who can come and help you or advise you. So I have managed as a solo founder the decision making, as well as you said, the burnout, or if you don't have knowledge in some areas, is relying on to the senior management and the advisory board. And that has been very effective for me. You don't need to have a co-founder, because again, co-founder also may have limited experience or skills. And that way, I'm not saying that you don't need a co-founder. It really depends on individual situation. A bunch of people can come together and have ability to work as a team, and they can co-found, but still they will need an experienced management team and a board of advisors.
What would you say is the meaning of entrepreneurship for you? How would you define the term entrepreneur, or who is an entrepreneur in terms of skill sets, or in terms of personality traits? Uh, who qualifies as an entrepreneur to you, or what is your personal definition of entrepreneurship?
My personal definition is the guy or girl who doesn't give up. Okay, so if you have a ability and skill of not giving up, you can be an entrepreneur, or you are an entrepreneur, because every one of us have ideas, every one of us have a dream of doing our own companies, but that ability to start and not give up, very limited people have. And my definition for entrepreneurs is primarily people who don't give up. And the second, probably if I want to add it, is the courage. The entrepreneurs have courage. When I'm saying courage is, no, I'm not going to be dependent from next month on my paychecks. Okay, to that, it needs courage to get out of that comfort zone and be vulnerable that I may not have income for next 1 year. But
Hmm.
primarily, people who don't give up, and second is people who have courage are the entrepreneurs.
Got you. What would be your message to someone who is just like you, but maybe 10 to 20 years younger than you? Because entrepreneurship and the way entrepreneurship is done changes every 10 or 20 years. Now that like we spoke about, AI is going to be a big thing. Who knows how to use AI will become successful in future. So what would be your message to someone who is just like you, but very younger than you?
So the message is, the first is that whatever idea you have, if you are convinced that it is going to work in the market, or that's the need you have identified in the market, because any entrepreneurship or any business really caters to a need, and it may be an unexpressed need, or you have identified that need. So if you are convinced that I know the need in the market, you can convince anybody. So don't change, or don't just keep taking advices from people and keep changing your ideas. If your idea, if you are convinced, you can convince the world. The second is, do not give up. Okay, you may, because you may start with idea A and you may land up with idea Z at the end. That's
Mm.
fine. That's the journey. It will keep changing. So keep adopting the changes and keep changing your idea. Don't worry that, oh, my original idea was this and now I am doing this. That's fine. It happens almost in every business. The third is, as I mentioned, that sales, the focus on sales. What has happened, Priya, is in last 10 years, the world and particularly entrepreneurs in India got exposed to the American capitalistic models and ideas. Everybody on day one looks for investment.
Yep.
And everybody wants a big investment. They want to become unicorns. They want to create their valuation. But if they do not have sales, we have seen in last 12 months how many companies on the earth have failed.
Hmm.
So if they do not have the focus on sales, then I don't believe the entrepreneur should really get into it, because you may have a limited success for a few years of making valuations and collecting money from investors, but it will not be long lasting. And the last is really get into a sustainable business, create employment. Even if you have 100 people, 200 people working, that's fine. But create sustainable. You don't need to get rid of employees because your business is not doing good. Get into the ideas on a sustainable business and manage it. So those will be my 4 advices to someone who is younger than me and starting now.
Well, on this note, I think we are at the end of the session. Thanks for your time, Anand, and it was a great pleasure to have you on our platform.
Thank you, Priya, for having me. All the best to you and ELI.